Welcome to the Sisters in Crime Writers Podcast. Everyone has a unique writing journey, so join us for conversations about those journeys from the writers themselves. This is Julie Henriques, the Executive Director of Sisters in Crime, and I am delighted to welcome Carmela Dutra to the podcast this week. Carmela is a writer from the San Francisco Bay Area who loves food trucks, family, and cozy mysteries. She's the author of the food truck mysteries, including A Murder Most Fowl and Hot Wings and Homicide. Her series has been praised by Kirkus Reviews, which called her debut a serious set of crimes leavened by a plenty of amusing moments, and by Library Journal, which noted that Hot Wings and Homicide is perfect for foodies. And the New York Times bestselling author Ellery Adams described the books as the perfect escapist read, brimming with banter and an extra helping of fun. Carmela has also been featured in CrimeReads Magazine. A lover of humor, quirky characters, and all things geeky, Carmela spends her days sketching, sipping far too much coffee, and over-cuddling her allergy-inducing cats and dogs. She lives with her husband and two dinosaur-obsessed sons, drawing inspiration from rainy afternoons, bustling farmers markets, and the unexpected moments that make life memorable. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
No, thank you, Julie. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. Thank you.
Well, we get to talk about writing, and how great is that? So I'm going to start the podcast the way I always start it and ask you, when did you say to yourself, I want to write a novel?
Ooh, I want to write a novel. Okay. Well, I started with children's books, and it was somewhere in that period as my children's books were growing and I was working with school districts. I started thinking I'd really like to do something bigger than just 1,000 words. And I always kind of held myself back from that. It felt a little too big for me to try because for the last 5 years, I had been doing just children's books and I loved it. Then pandemic happened and I had all this free time on my hands. So I figured, okay, let's just bite the bullet and see what I can do. And I wrote a god-awful sci-fi novel, and I don't know why I queried it, but I did, and it was terrible. But from there, that led to my stepping stone to cozy mysteries.
All right, so lots to unpack here, but let's start. So, because the jump from sci-fi to cozy mystery, I can make it work in my brain. But let's before we go there. So you started writing children's books, which isn't easy. I mean, it's not, you've got to tell a whole story in 1,000 words. Which did you write, middle grade or what was the age range?
It was picture books. So it was mostly younger picture books, specifically for elementary grades 2 through maybe 6, advanced picture books. So think of it almost kind of like the Magic School Bus with a girl and her puppy instead. So my books were STEM education, and it was about a little girl named Katie and her puppy Smudged, and you learned everything from the moon to about the coral reefs, but it was told in an educational, fictional way. And so I worked primarily with school districts, doing author workshops, teaching children the fundamentals of storytelling at a young age to help encourage a love of reading with children.
I love that. I also love, that you went to schools. I mean, that's every children's book author I've met. This is part of the gig, is like, you write the books, but it's going into the schools and meeting the kids and, talking about it. I mean, that's the value for your audience, is that they get
I loved it.
Actually understand this is possible, right?
Yeah, I loved it so much. And there was one school that I had worked with regularly where the 3rd grade class actually helped with some of the ideas for a book. And I gave the teacher the prompts of what it was going to be about. And I said, okay, we're going to break it up and you're going to have 2 students working on this page. And they gave me their ideas complete with illustrations. And so I ended up dedicating that book to the class when it was released.
I love that. So, but I'm going to rewind us back a little bit. When you said to yourself, I want to write a children's book, right? How did you learn the craft?
That was a lot of self-teaching and a lot of experimenting, and just trying to see what worked. I practiced on my niece and nephew, and they gave me the most brutal, honest feedback you could ask for at the time. And they were 8 and 9, so they were honest. And I continued to develop. And then because I was working with school districts, I would get direct feedback from the teachers. What is your class working on? What is it that you usually try to focus on in the school year? What ways do you find are the most engaging for your students with writing? How do they respond to it? What are subjects that are, because of where I live, STEM education is really huge here. Yeah. We have a number of school districts that is their focus, their STEM magnets. So what subjects are harder for your students? And that was where I would get ideas, and I'd get a lot of hands-on feedback from the teachers, which was really helpful for me.
Yeah. So, and, learning and getting those critical reviews is helpful. But let's sort of go from that to, we can skip over the sci-fi if you want, although that might have been your practice book. I mean,
it was. Yeah, totally.
You have to write a book, which is usually, first drafts are always going to be bad, unless you're, maybe some people don't have that experience, but most writers, it's like the first draft.
Mine are a hot mess.
But you need to write that first book to understand how to write a book.
Yeah. And that's really what the sci-fi was for me. It was giving myself permission to do this, to write it. And so that leap, because it does seem kind of hard, I can understand. How do I go from the first novel that I picked up was a sci-fi, and I transitioned over to cozy mysteries? So I queried it. I wrote it the best that I could. I researched, I educated myself. How do I query literary agents? And I did it. I queried, and I did receive full requests from a few agents, a handful, and they all came back with the same feedback. I had a saggy middle. Some of the pacing was off. There was too much humor, and there was too much mystery woven into it. So I had 4 agents suggest I try my hand at a rom-com, because my voice naturally lends itself that way. And I had 2 suggest cozy mysteries. And that was my light bulb moment of, why didn't I go that direction to begin with? Because over 80% of my bookshelf is cozy mysteries. That's my comfort read. That's where I live. So then I was like, okay, let's do this. How am I going to write a cozy mystery now? So I went to the library and I just started checking out even more books, and I just completely immersed myself fully and taking apart mentally of the structure and how those books came together and what it looked like.
This is such an important part of being a writer. Is you read a book for enjoyment, and then you go back and you think, how did they do that? And even when a book doesn't work for you, that's helpful too. It's like, why am I bored?
Yes.
Like, what's going on? And understanding. It's an ongoing effort, though, to keep learning and to really build craft.
Yeah, and I do. I think that's true for all authors, no matter what stage you're at. You're going to keep learning. You're going to keep improving. I mean, that's the hope, right? We're going to keep growing as authors and keep improving. And I learned a lot just from that first horrible draft to the finished product. And I'm still continuously learning from my agent and from my editor, from feedback with beta readers, critique partner. It's all super helpful for me.
And so as you're building your craft, did you take any classes, or did you, read craft books, or was there anything else that helped you? I love that you had 4 takeaways from these agents, saggy middle is actually,
it's common.
Very common. And you use the word pacing, and that's a structure thing, right? It's like, how do we make sure they don't get bored or skip this chapter, which sounds so easy, but it's so hard. So did you take classes, or how did you keep evolving, or what, are you like the kind of person who just learns by doing and reading?
A little bit of both. I did. I read a lot of articles online. I did educate myself from different literary agents. There's a number on the online who share blogs about craft and about writing, what's wrong in their query pitches that they see, what can you do as the author to improve that. So I took bits and pieces from everywhere. As I was doing this, I tried to recall some of the creative writing classes that I took in high school, which was a long time ago. But I took all that and I just did the best that I could. And I polished it as best as I could. And thankfully, I ended up finding just a fabulous agent. It took a long time. It took 197 no's before I got my agent. And she really she taught me so much. And one of the biggest things was she gave me a book on screenwriting and plotting. And that's what really helped me to help with my pacing, to help with my saggy middle, to hit all of those points in the different acts, and to make sure that I had a full cohesive story moving forward.
So I want to underline this for folks who are listening to this, who are thinking or they're on the journey, or, they haven't started writing, or they're discouraged by 197 no's.
Yeah.
You never know when the yes is coming, right? So if you'd quit at 195, we wouldn't be talking right now.
No. And actually, my query closed out as closed with no response on Query Tracker from my agent. So that had actually wasn't even on my radar when I got the email from her asking if the manuscript was still available. And it was even it even went further than that too. Is your manuscript still available? And then she wanted to know what was my plan for the series. How many books did I already have in mind to give pitches for those? Where do I see myself and my career going? So it was a full package that she was asking for to see the full picture.
Well, and this again is something that's so important, because you obviously thrilled to be getting this email, but she was the right fit for you because it's your business partner. It's not just about one book. It's about a series or 5 series, or, that sci-fi being resurrected at some point. And
it's going to be cannibalized. It's not going to be resurrected.
But it's about building a career. And I think that's hard to think about too, when you're just so excited. So to have somebody who's automatically saying, and we're going to do a 5-year plan that's great.
And it can be a little scary to a degree. I can understand that. When I was talking with some readers, I recently attended Left Coast Crime for the first time, and I was talking with some readers, and they're also working on their manuscripts, and they're like, how do you even think about that far? Like, I'm only thinking about where I'm at right now. How do you think 5 years in the future? And the only thing that I could remember asking was, okay, do you see yourself as a career author, or do you see yourself as a hobby writer? And there's nothing wrong with either answer.
Absolutely.
But that's going to tell you a lot of where you see yourself going.
Yes. And I think there's nothing wrong with having that one book that you want to see published, and then, stepping out, and that's fine. But if you're a career author,
totally, yeah,
you're in for the long haul. And it's, as I say a lot, and when I, taught arts administration to actors, it's a roller coaster ride. It's not a, ladder and, gee, this works, so I'm going to go up another rung. No, you go backwards and upside down, and you feel like throwing up sometimes. Sometimes you
throw up.
Right? I mean, it's and sometimes you step off the ride, but it's a ride, and you just got to enjoy it.
Yeah. That's a really good way to put it.
Right. And well, I think any artistic journey is going to be like that. And the challenge for writers, or for any, again, I worked in theater, so I know a lot of folks, but is that, you got to bolster yourself, because nobody cares about your career as much as you do. Even your agent.
Yeah.
Right?
Be your biggest advocate.
You have to care about your writing more than anyone else, and believe in yourself. And that's hard, which is why community is so important. So I love that your agent gave you a book on screenwriting. because that act structure of especially, well, for all books, but especially cozies have that built-in, 3-act structure or 4 acts, because, the middle is, you break up that second act a few times so that people don't think it sags. But I love that was sort of here's a pain point for you. So get outside of yourself, and here's a way to fix it.
Yeah, it was so helpful. And she was so great with her feedback about it too, because she was honest with me. She is a very firm believer in plotting. And this is how, she's been in the business for over 20 years. She used to be an editor. She's worked all over from Penguin and Amazon books. And, she's a senior literary agent. So she's seen both sides. And so she was giving me honest feedback in the best, perfectly constructed way. And she goes, read that, see how you feel. Tell me what you think. Does it resonate with you? She wasn't pushing me. She wasn't telling me this is what you have to do, but does it feel true for you? Because this is how I work. And I want to make sure that we're going to work well together. And it was everything that I had hoped for. You hear so many authors talk about their dream agents, and I've never really felt that's you can't get your dream agent from reading a bio and seeing a few books. But when you're privileged to have those connections and that conversation, that's where you can get that dream agent feeling. And oftentimes it's not the first agent you query or even necessarily the last agent. It's the unexpected moment and you realize you two really click because, like you said, it's a partnership. You both have to be working together and be able to openly communicate.
Yes. And it's, again, yes, and I know I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. It would be easy to just say yes, no matter who answered the call at 197. But for you to actually have the confidence in yourself to say, we got to make sure this is a good fit before I pop the champagne is important, but it must have been also the deep relief of this being a good fit. I can't even imagine.
Yeah, it was. It was that also feeling of like, I'm so glad that I stuck it out, that I continued with it, that I had the tenacity to keep going. And there's nothing wrong if somebody stops sooner than that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that because there's so much that goes into querying. It's a mental roller coaster. And I'm a huge believer in if you're going to query agents, you have to take necessary precautions to protect your mental health along the way. And it can be really hard because you're not used to getting so much rejection. We're not built that way as humans. So getting that constant feedback can really discourage a person. And I did have other agents who are interested. I had 197 rejections, but I did have 27 full and partial requests. And I did get feedback. And I did have an agent call. And I did have agent correspondence of they were interested in moving forward. But I couldn't ignore some of the red flags that were coming with it, that we just weren't going to work together. And that's okay to recognize that as well. It can be scary for authors because you're so excited. And we're not going to sugarcoat it. It is really hard to go through this and to get an agent. So sometimes that feeling is, I have to say yes, like you said, but that's not always in your best interest.
Yes. And you have to trust your gut. So let's talk about writing cozy specifically, because it is about world building and creating a world that can sustain a series of who knows how many books. I mean, so did you imagine this was going to be, did you pitch this in your query as a series, or did you pitch it as a book that could be a series?
I pitched it as series potential. Each book can be read as a standalone. And that's my goal with the whole series is you can pick up the book in any order and be able to just fully dive in. But I also wanted that door open to continue the series. And it's what you said about world building is so important because I actually never really thought about that at the time when I was first writing. I think of world building for sci-fi and fantasy, but it is true. You do, especially oftentimes cozy mysteries are set in fictional towns, as is mine. So you do have to create a fully sustainable world for your characters to live, to grow, and thrive in.
Yeah. And you have to make up the rules for that world, even if it's based in reality. If you get magical realism, then that's a whole nother set of rules that you have to stick with. But
Yeah.
if they took a right to get to the bank outside the supermarket in 3 books and they take a left in the next book, the person who's going to be reading your series over the course of 2 weeks is going to write to you about the left. And even though you had no idea you did that, that's just the way this, I mean, it's Barbara Ross wrote a series that took place in Maine. She used to talk about it, about the bubble of building the world. You kind of create the small bubble, and then the more you need a bigger town or more people, you just expand the bubble, but you don't have to think about the expanded bubble right away. You just have to deal with your closed bubble and figure that out, because it's hard. It's hard. Did you base your town on a real place?
I did. So it's set here in the Bay Area, where is my hometown. And how I ended up going with the fictional town of Clementine was I couldn't just find one specific place in the Bay Area. I had all these little favorite gems. So I picked and plucked different parts and I created my fictional town. And then in the series, I did create 2 additional fictional towns, and they're all based off of real areas. And then I do have real parts of the Bay Area too. I do reference, Burlingame. I talk about in Fremont, crossing the Bay Bridge and going over to Jack London Square. So I have my real elements mixed with my fictional.
Which is great. And do you, as you were writing or talking about pitching this, you mentioned that your agent is a plotter or, loves plots. And in cozies, you can pitch proposals for, get a 2 or 3 book contract, depending on, where it's going or eventually, but they want to kind of know where you're going to make sure it can happen. But were you a plotter or are you, talk to me about your writing process.
So when I wrote book 1, A Murder Most Foul, I pantsed it. And I don't know why I did that, because I plotted my picture books. Like I knew my beginning, middle, and end. I did storyboards and everything. But when I decided to do my cozy mystery, I'm like, okay, I'm going to figure out the murderer when the reader figures it out. It could be anybody. That did not work at all. It did not work. And so that's where my agent came in and taught me plotting. And now I'm a devout plotter. And we did a full restructure of my manuscript. We spent like somewhere between 9 to 10 months just redoing the whole thing.
Wow.
And so we kept my core elements. So the killer is still the same, the twins, and my chicken suit. That stuff stayed. And actually, it was my agent who encouraged me to bring in the twin element more central to the story, because originally I wrote it where it was my main character was just Beth, and her twin brother would pop in and out just very briefly. And she's like, no, I really like their banter. I think that it could be really well if you had them both as the main characters. I think that they bring a natural chemistry and it would be something fun and fresh. And I'm so glad I took her advice, because readers have loved the twin element, and it has lended such a natural way to add humor into the story organically. Because if anybody is a sibling or has cousins or anything, you'll understand that natural push and pull between siblings.
Yes, and twins have that extra special thing going on. So it also, I think, opens up opportunities, right? Because the main protagonist can be one twin, the other next book. Like you can flip things around a little bit easier and sort of have different points of view working for you. Yeah. Do you, so you plot now?
Yes. Probably too much, but yes.
Okay, so I was going to ask, do you 10-point plot, 10-point plot where you're like, these 7 things are going to happen and this is who the murderer is, this is the victim, this is how, and this is who gets arrested by mistake, and then go? Or do you do scene by scene before you start and then just write the scenes and then adjust as you need to?
So I do always start with motive. Who has motive to to want this person dead? What do they benefit, or what do they stand to lose by this happening? And once I can solidify that, and it's a logical reason, then I continue to work backwards. Okay, now who would those characters be? And I try to make sure I have anywhere between 3 to 5 people that can fit that mold. And then now who can be the victim? And then I do work backwards, but I go chapter by chapter typically. I might start with a very loose skeletal 3-act plot structure, but yeah, my plot outlines, they look like mini manuscripts of like 40 to 50,000 words sometimes, because if I'm in the zone and I'm putting stuff down and all of a sudden dialogue hits, I just type out the dialogue. And as I'm plotting, if I'm trying to figure out what would happen, I just put it in a bracket, insert XYZ, and I just continue to move on.
I love that. So that's, so your plot, I've heard this from other writers who are strict plot, like big plotters, that, when you're plotting, that it can be a very rough first draft. I mean, you kind of skip over, actually not that rough because you're working, I mean, it's, you're sorting things out, but you actually go in there and you add a bracket and say, all right, something's happening at the depot here, got no idea what, but I know what the next scene is. So I'm just gonna skip that part. And then I bet I'm gonna figure it out as I'm writing this whole thing.
Yeah. And that was actually something that I picked up during NaNoWriMo when I joined, back when we all used to love it, right? And we miss the nostalgia of that. I went to a write-in, and we were sitting together and we were talking about it. And I remember I was stuck. And I'm like, something needs to happen here. I know it's going to be tension, but I don't know what. And I was sitting there for like 45 minutes, just in that, staring at that cursor. And the organizer, she's like, just write the word add tension, put a bracket, and move on. And I'm like, oh my God, that's a great idea. And so now that's just what I do all the time. If I can't quite pinpoint it, but I know roughly what needs to happen, just bracket. And I'll even do that as I'm going through revisions. Like, I know something needs to happen here, but I'll figure it out later. And I just continue moving on.
Yeah. And the brackets are so great because you can search them, I mean, because colors, you can't search for the red, the red.
Yeah.
Probably can, but you can search for brackets and find, oh, I have 722 brackets, so time to get to work. Do you write in Word or do you write in Scrivener or something else?
It's in Word. I tried Scrivener and I just could not catch on to the learning curve with it. And then I'm still going to have to transfer it to Word anyway, because that's how my agent and editor work. So yeah, I just do Word. That's what works for me. And then I also have my murder boards that I absolutely love in my office. And whichever one that I'm currently working on the story is the board immediately in front of my desk. And then I have 2 others on to the right of my desk. My goal is to get an entire wall and then to get the red string to pen it all together.
So are these murder boards for separate books or for separate parts of the book?
Separate books. So I have whatever the current story is that I'm working on, everything's on that one board. And it's a good size board. It's good. Think like the size a little bit bigger than a chalkboard in a classroom. So wow. I have room to add a lot of notes. Yeah. And I highlight on there too, like what scene or what act this is. So this way it's easy for me to find. Ideally it's easy for me to find, not always.
See, when did I have that yo-yo scene? I've got to find it. And,
That has happened, yes. And then I also, a few key details that I always need to remember stay permanently on the board. Like, I thought it would be a fantastic idea to make my twins, one is a leap year baby, and she's technically 2 minutes older, Beth, and Seth was born on the next day on March 1st. But legally, she's 7 years younger than him because her parents never changed her birthday. So I have to do math consistently. And I did not think that through. And I did the math wrong in the first book. When my editor was going through it, she's like, you only have 4 years difference. She's like, that's not how it works. It's actually like there's a 7-year difference with a leap year. So now I'm like, okay, she's like, so now we've got to figure out what is their exact age because leap year only happens on these specific years. So
Yeah.
anyone listening, if you're going to do a leap year, it can be a lot of fun, but just be prepared for the math.
Well, and if you're having twins with the leap year, that's, I mean, and I'm sure it delighted you and felt ingenious at the moment, but I can imagine it would break your brain, you know.
Yeah, future me is not always pleased with past me.
And how do you deal with book time in your books? Is it, if it takes you a year to write a book, is it a year in the book or is it a few months or, I find book time fabulous, fascinating because I was reading a series. I was so frustrated because there was this love triangle for whatever. And then I realized in book time, even though it had been 25 years, in book time it was 3 years. So in book time, yeah, okay. It's just the 25 years of it of reading it kind of gets old. So
Yeah.
that's why I ask. I was, did you make decisions about book time at the beginning?
Yeah, I'm not necessarily trying to make my character age too much. It needs to be a slow progression of aging for her. And so everything usually happens within a couple of months of each other. So I have, the first book takes place in like the October time, and the next book is taking place in May of the next year. So it's all within kind of a few months of piling and snowballing on top of each other. And in that time period, unfortunately, she is finding a lot of dead bodies in under a year, but it happens.
Well, that's heightened reality too, right?
Yeah.
Policies are something because kinder, gentler, and they have, I think, undeserved reputation for being soft boiled because I think cozies tackle a lot of problems and issues in society. They just are a kinder, gentler delivery system, and sometimes.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
in cozies, they're dropping like flies. I mean,
Yeah. I actually, so I had sent off book 3 to my agent and she was going through it and she's like, there's not enough death. We need at least one more dead body here. Or there needs to be like an almost murder. You got to give me something else here. And I'm like, and it just made me laugh when I was reading her notes because true for a cozy.
yeah,
There's usually more than just one dead body. There's something else that happens in the
yes,
story to keep driving that tension and keep
yes.
pushing the plot forward.
Yes, yes. And, maybe someone gets a concussion instead of dying, but something's going to happen to
Yeah.
the reading. So you've been doing this, I mean, writing children's books, but also, this mystery writing, this career you've got now. And you've already talked about how you've evolved as a writer and your plotting. Talk to me about what else you've sort of learned as you're doing this. I mean, we talked about this a little bit before I hit record about community and about just figuring out the publishing world. But talk to me about sort of as a writer of cozies, what you're figuring out.
Like you mentioned community and we had been talking about that and I recommend it so much because there's been authors and readers that I've met who are wanting to write and they share how they feel so isolated at times because writing can be very lonely. I am fortunate enough that when I was writing picture books, I had an online group on Facebook and we were a blogging group. And over the years, all of us have evolved as writers in that particular group. So we always stayed together. And even now, we still are encouraging one another. But then, as I've transitioned into cozies, finding fellow authors within my genre has been so helpful because they are understanding some of the struggles that go to writing in that genre. Other mystery authors, even thriller authors, finding that kinship with them, being with fellow debuts and seeing how we're growing together and seeing how their career is taking off and I'm branching in a different way, but it's still so beautiful to see us supporting and working together. Community is just, yeah, it's so everything. So if you're able to find that however it looks, whether that's you have a group some are on Discord, some are just chats on Instagram. There's communities like Sync and there's NorCal local writing communities in your town. That can be such a way, even with your libraries, check with your libraries. There's a lot of great resources there that can make it feel less isolating and just having someone sometimes to just commiserate with, but
Yeah.
also to be there to cheer you on, and then you can cheer them on too.
And they understand the journey. Your
Yeah.
family loves you and may not always understand why you're locking yourself away for 3 hours during a beautiful Saturday afternoon, but there you go. But another writer knows when to commiserate and also knows when to give you a kick in the butt to get you going again.
Yes, 100%. And then also, not all communities look the same. Sometimes it takes finding that right community after a couple of tries. That's happened with me. And feeling what's going to be best for you. And sometimes support looks different. And that support may not be someone who's within your age. I'm a firm believer of it's not about that. It's not about age. It's not about gender. It's not about location. It's about having that connection with someone else who understands what you're going through. And if they have the experience to share with you, all the better, because learn from them. Like, learn from my mistakes. I queried too soon. I queried before my manuscript was ready, and I learned from it, so I don't consider it a mistake. But I remember I queried thinking, oh, that agent's going to close. Let me just query now, and I'll have plenty of time to work on it later. So anyone listening, learn from my mistake. Don't do that, because I got a full request within 24 hours, and I was not ready for that full request. So having that community, you learn their experiences, and it can help you to better shape your experience.
Yeah. Yes, I love that. It's so important. What have you learned about the publishing world? Now, again, you've been in it before, but in a different genre. What have you learned about the publishing world that surprised you, or that you think, gosh, this would have been good to know?
So what would have been, I would say for me, the biggest one was I went in, I knew to expect to market myself. I'm with a traditional publisher. I knew the expectations that were there. We had open conversations. But if you have questions and you don't fully understand something, it's okay to ask. It's okay to do so and find out so you can educate yourself. They're not going to be frustrated. They're happy that you're asking questions so they can help. So there was, on my end, a misunderstanding. And it was when I was told my debut was coming out, your book will be available nationwide. I didn't fully understand what that meant. I didn't know it was my responsibility to reach out to local bookstores and request they stock my book. So release day came, and my book was not in any store that I could find locally. And I had this different idea of release day of, I'm going to go to a store, I'm going to walk in, I'm going to sign my copy like you see happening online. But that didn't happen for me. So I gave myself a 20-minute pity party, and then I rolled up my sleeves and I started calling bookstores. Hey, I'm a local author. My book just released today. I wanted to see if my book was in stock with you. I'd love to come in and sign some copies. Oh, no, it's not. But you know what? I can order it and we can get it here within the next week. And then I found out that it was in a bookstore, and I went and visited the next day, and I cried on those booksellers, like ugly tears from the Emperor's New Groove type of ugly tears. Like it was so emotional for me. It was more emotional than I thought it was going to be, seeing my book in a bookstore for the very first time. I never really actually thought about what that would mean, especially after having queried for 3 years and then so many no's, but then to see it on a shelf. And then I found out it sold that afternoon after I signed it.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's a great story. And I think that is again such a great piece of information. First of all, celebrate seeing it and cry and do all the things and enjoy it, because this is a huge momentous moment, seeing your book out in the wild. But also, check with libraries and check with local bookstores and say, hey, I'm a local author, and just do what you can do to make sure it's out there and you're building it, because again, it's a one by one selling thing. I mean, it's not.
And again, it's, you have to advocate for your book.
Yes.
Because my book was available worldwide or nationwide, all that. It was online. And so I did send an email to my marketing department. And I don't remember what we were talking about, but I did say, I'm like, I didn't realize I was supposed to reach out to bookstores myself. So I've gotten onto that. And now this is where I'm going to be, there's going to be bookstores available, and these particular bookstores will ship signed copies throughout the nation. And the response was so supportive. Oh, don't even worry about it. You're not falling behind. A lot of authors don't know to reach out. So it's okay. You're right where you need to be. You're doing great. Just keep going. Just do the best you can and don't stress about anything. And so that's, don't stress, don't compare. You can't control any of that. Just focus on what you can control. And that's stuff that I've taken from my debut year. My second book, Hot Wings and Homicide, comes out on May 12th. So I'm already on top of it. I've already done my bookstore emailing. I've already done my outreach a month in advance. And I'm focusing on what I can control. And that's connecting with readers and enjoying it and celebrating the moments along the way.
Yeah. You have wonderful titles. Do you do your titles, or is this a marketing department conversation?
So, Murder Most Fowl was mine, and I was so happy that I got to keep it because they did ask for 10 alternate titles, which was really hard to come up with. And my agent picked Hot Wings and Homicide. I was torn between a couple of options. So I emailed her and I'm like, what do you think? And she's like, why are we discussing this? It's Hot Wings and Homicide all the way. And I'm like, it is. It's like, as soon as she said it, I'm like, it's perfect. And I also just love how the cover for the series also kind of changed. Like, my first cover is your quintessential cozy mystery cover of the food truck. You've got the background of the Bay Area. You've got your subtle dead body in the corner. And then Hot Wings and Homicide is more commercial, but I do love it too, even though there's not a food truck on it. It's the hot sauce bottle, skull and crossbone. It's also very, very cozy. And that was something else you said, something that I learned. I was surprised how many readers at book events, because I did a book tour in the Bay Area, and so many mistook my cover for a children's book because of the food truck, and it was so colorful. They're like, that's a really big picture book. And I'm thinking, I'm like, are there any children's books that have the word murder in it? Like, it was, in my mind, it wasn't connecting. But so I'm also hoping for book 2 at my events, it'll be more identifiable that this is an adult cozy mystery fiction novel and not a picture. I mean, it's clean enough that children could read it with their parents. And I did have parents and their kids picking up copies to read together, which I think is so awesome to do that and to know what your kid is reading and then to expose them to other literature and have that shared experience. But I do think this will help more clearly identify that this is for adults.
Well, though, yes, and to all that, but also you built up a reputation and you'd written picture books. So did you write them under the same name?
Yes, I did, but there was only one person I met who knew me from my picture books.
Okay.
Everyone were like, very first time ever meeting me.
Wow. Okay, because I just thought, well, maybe that's why they just sort of know you, and yeah. Isn't that interesting? So, part of the career building is you're working on this series, but, as you're doing this, are you thinking about other genres? Are you thinking about other series? Are you sort of intrigued? Has an idea started knocking on your brain to say, hey, nice to see you?
I've got way too many ideas. So I do have another series that I've turned into my agent. I gave her a couple options, and so she actually picked the series. She liked between these two ideas. So I gave her the first book. That will also be cozy mystery. Her and I have talked about how I want this to go, how she also sees me too, because I'm relying on her advice and her industry wisdom. So I do have a rom-com that I wrote when I was queer, and I had an agent specifically request a rom-com from me. And so that's on a shelf. My agent has looked at it and she goes, it's good, but she wants to focus on me as a cozy mystery author. So, and the more that I think about it, maybe that rom-com manuscript might be might be adjusted, and I might do like a mashup between like a romantic suspense with a lot of humor, and this time no chickens in it. So we'll see.
Well, and I think, first of all, I don't think mashups are very popular right now. It is how you talk about genres. So, what's the spine of the book, as El Jaffret said on an Instagram Live with me? You can have 5 different genres, but what's the spine? What's the real genre? But rom-coms and cozies lend themselves to being mashed up. I mean, a rom-com with a mystery element is, would probably still be pitched as a romance, but it's in my book. Of course, I think every book should have a mystery element in it, and I think most books do of some sort. So, but I kind of love that your rom-com's sitting on the shelf, but you're like, let's, you're still there.
Yeah, I'm not done with it. It's still on the back burner. I'm not done with it. We'll see what happens as time goes on. But like you said, they're popular, and you can see how it is working. Like Allie Carter, she did the Most Wonderful Crime of the Year. Was Sarah Fox recently came out with one as well. Oh gosh, I'm totally drawing a blank, but the cover is where they have the shared binoculars, and there's 2 hearts in it. I'll remember the title after we finish. That's how it always works. But I do also remember Partners in Crime. So there's been other ones that have popped up over the years too. So they go together.
Yeah. And you know what? You can also throw some sci-fi into some of them. I mean, there's no reason not to take it, have elements and figure things out, stuff that light you up.
I still don't know why I did sci-fi, but it's okay.
Well, I kind of love that you did. I mean, you learned how to write a book, which is not a small feat, and it's a palate cleanser. It's like, okay, I wrote some, and you world build. I mean, there's a lot about science fiction that's incredibly helpful to figure out what am I doing, rules, and it's a lot. Yeah. I don't know. I'm going to keep saying, let's get the science fiction. Let's
Maybe I'll do it just for you, Julie.
Yeah, some element. So what's your second book's coming out May 2nd and May 12th, and you're working and you've got other things and stuff. I mean, is there, what's your takeaway after this debut year? I mean, debuts are huge. So did you have a good year? I mean, talk to me about what you want to share with folks to inspire them or to educate them on the debut, besides the call your local bookstores and make sure your book's there, which is really helpful.
I did have a good year. And my good year is for me personally because not only did I genuinely connect with readers, and I absolutely love that. It was so fun to go to book clubs, to meet individuals at signings. I did have a giant chicken with me at a couple of them. My best friend dressed up in a costume, and in the book, her best friend dresses up as the chicken. So it worked really well. That was a lot of fun. But it was because I just went with the flow. I don't take myself too seriously. I enjoy the moment. Whatever happens, happens. I do the best I can. And I connected with some wonderful authors that have become true friends, that I found my community. I found my community within Sync, within MWA. I have found my people, and mystery people are the best. We're all a little weird. We talk about different ways to murder people, and it's all in a lighthearted way. It's totally fun. I experienced my first convention, and I'm like so hooked. I love it. It was so much fun. I went to Left Coast Crime. It was up in San Francisco. Yeah. So I'm like, I have to go because I'm in the Bay Area. I was only 40 minutes away, but I still stayed up there. And so I'm already going next year to New Mexico for the big chili rides again. I have Malice Domestic. Hopefully I get to go next year. That's my plan, is to go next year. So that being at the convention was so fun, doing panels, attending panels, making those different connections, meeting people that I probably never would have had the chance to meet had it not been for that experience. So I've also learned to make sure that I'm honest with myself about what I can realistically do. Not saying yes to every opportunity that comes, no matter how exciting or flattering it may seem, because I'm also, first and foremost, I'm a mom. I have 2 small kids. So I have to also think about what my time looks like with them and not sacrificing that quality time with my family, but also including them in this chapter, because if it wasn't for their support and for my husband's support, I know I wouldn't be able to do all of this. So finding those different ways to include them, to make it fun, not sacrificing my dreams, and just finding that balance.
Well, and that's a tough thing in life, finding balance. But with young kids, that's an extra weight on the balance scale of, okay, how are we going to make this work? But what a wonderful example for them of a mom who's going for her dreams and making them happen. I mean, that's a gift to them to see this going on, you know?
I hope they feel that way. And I think they do. They do enjoy. They don't come to all of the events. I do let them pick which ones they want to go to. So I'll actually be up at the spring showcase up in Book Passage with the Sync NorCal chapter, and I'm really excited about that one. And my kids are coming, and they're excited because we're going to cross the Golden Gate Bridge. And they've been in my ear constantly about the Golden Gate Bridge. And my 4th grader, he spent part of his last semester learning about the bridge. So for him, that's that really personal connection. So my husband's going to find a couple of different things for them to go do together, the 3 of them, while I'm at Book Passage for a couple hours. Then, we'll have lunch, we'll have dinner, and we're making a whole day of it. And it's release weekend, so it's really exciting because my book will have just come out. Yeah. So finding that balance, even in the middle of release weekend, or release week, however you refer to it, to have the quality family time, but also be present within the book community too.
Yeah, and to pose with your book on the Golden Gate Bridge. I'm just saying.
Ooh, that's a great idea. It hadn't crossed my mind. It really hadn't.
Your book in the wild, man. It's like, here we go. Where am I? It's a whole social media campaign. It writes itself. Carmela, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much, Julie, for having me. This has been so fun talking with you, and I hope it was encouraging to the listeners.
I think it will be for sure. Thank you for being with us today. Sisters in Crime is about community. We were founded to advocate for women crime writers, and we continue that mission by fighting for equity in the crime writing community. Sisters in Crime is an international, inclusive organization for all who write and love crime fiction, mystery, thrillers, and suspense. Join us at sistersincrime.org and make sure you subscribe to this podcast.